Welcome to this episode of Healing Grounds webinars. I'm the presenter, Jenny Yoder. As you may know, the topic today is gaslighting. I'm going to explain what it is, how to recognize it, and what to do about it. We'll have some time for discussion, then I'll share how it relates to my business and what I have to offer. Okay, let's get started. Also, if you stay with me throughout the presentation, I'll leave you with a bonus offer related to my next webinar topic. You'll have to stay to find out what that topic is, and to find out what the bonus offer is for that matter. Okay, what is gaslighting? Gaslighting is a form of manipulation using lying, denial, diversion, trivializing, countering, and other similar tactics to confuse one to the point of causing one to question one's reality, memory, perception, and even sanity. The term gaslighting is derived from a 1938 stage play of the same name and was later adapted to film in 1940 and 1944. The story depicted the technique and was subsequently used as the technical term. In the story, a husband was intentionally dimming the gas lights in the upstairs, then telling his wife she was imagining it when she brought it up to him. His ultimate intent was to make her crazy, get her committed so he could steal her inheritance. In extreme cases, gaslighting induces mental illness, leading to psychiatric treatment. Gaslighting is abuse. What's more, even though gaslighting is a fairly new term used to describe the behavior about which we're speaking today, the behavior is referenced in the Bible. Of course, it's not termed gaslighting. The type of person that uses gaslighting is referred to as a fool in the Bible. So let's consider a few verses. Proverbs 18:2. Fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their own opinions. This will come up again later on in this teaching. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Proverbs 12:15. This is the New Living Translation. Fools think their own way is right, but the wise listen to others. Or I like the Message translation too. Fools are headstrong and do what they like. Wise people take advice. And then maybe the most closely related verse to gaslighting, Proverbs 10:18. Liars secretly hoard hatred. Fools openly spread slander. Since slander is a false spoken statement about someone, that logically means it's lying. There's an element of lying in all of the tactics of gaslighting because the person using gaslighting is unable to own up to his or her own behavior, in effect, transferring the guilt to someone else, or at least away from the gaslighter. A gaslighter's ultimate intent is to keep their victim confused so that they can control him or her. There are times when gaslighting occurrences are isolated, but by and large, when someone is consistently gaslighting, the objective is control. Let's take a closer look at the meaning, and I'll share a few examples. Lying. In its simplest form, obviously, lying is not telling the truth. But in the case of gaslighting, an abuser may change the report of the true event completely and knowingly. My ex-husband is a master gaslighter. While he used other gaslighting tactics, lying was his most frequent. I used to just tell him to stop trying to rewrite history because I was there, and that's not how it happened. Denial or forgetting, otherwise known as refusal of the truth. This is simply not owning one's actions in order to save face. The person will either outright deny the action or conveniently forget how it happened. Diversion. This may be the most creative tactic. The abuser changes the subject completely or questions the target's thinking. Diversion is fascinating because the abuser can take the conversation anywhere and be creative with it. Not only that, but they can literally fabricate an alternate story or an explanation out of thin air. I'll share an example later of this. Trivializing. Of course, in this tactic, the person is either minimizing the entire situation or minimizing you as a valid person. The person may even say, "You're just being too sensitive. It's not a big deal." My ex used to pile even more guilt on top of this when he used this tactic. He would say I ruined his entire day, or possibly my entire day, by bringing it up, further making me question whether I am the one that's overreacting or being irrational. This is a huge gaslighting tactic and common. Countering. This is also a quite creative tactic. Countering is when the abuser is questioning the validity and accuracy of the memory of the targeted person. Are you sure that's how it happened? While this tactic is creative because it can be questioned in many different ways, it's also very direct. The purpose of gaslighting is to get you to question yourself and your reality. So this is questioning that reality in the literal sense. When we truly begin to question our own reality, we lose our sense of self and ultimately lose hope in the darkness of so much confusion. This is what was happening to me in my first marriage, and I pray for all those out there living in this dark world that is gaslighting. Withholding. Withholding is when the gaslighter refuses to listen to your concern, or he or she claims to not understand when it's clear he or she understands. Again, these people can't face or own up to their own behaviors. Now for some examples. These are a few personal examples of gaslighting from my own life. The first one. When my children were young, I remember asking my oldest once why he didn't clean his room. I had asked him to clean his room, and he had gone upstairs and stayed for a while, giving me the impression that he was cleaning his room. And then he came back down, and when I questioned, I knew he hadn't cleaned his room because I had gone up there and checked. So when I questioned why he didn't clean his room, he said, "I forgot." This was interesting. I don't think that my son intended to gaslight me. He was not intending to control me or manipulate me. It was just simply that he didn't want to own his own behavior in that moment because he knew he was in trouble, and he didn't do what he was asked. So he was trying to just take the attention off of himself, and that was the first thing that came to mind. The other option is that he was literally telling me the truth, and he went up there with the intent to clean his room, and he got distracted with something and then completely forgot to even do it. So that's another possibility as well. Second example. Someone I know had something happen recently in which he had to have a difficult conversation with a friend about particular behavior that seems to be repeating. The person I know felt he was being mocked verbally, but somewhat discreetly in front of a customer. It was kind of like the the person that was mocking was going blah 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 or yeah blah blah. So it was loud enough to be heard, and it was even heard by the customer. And so it was a little bit weird, I guess you could say. And then obviously the person that I know confronted this person about it. Rather than his friend having a heart to heart talk about what's going on and what's bothering him, he told this person I know that he wasn't mocking him, but he was auctioneering. He was actually auctioneering. Oh, I must have been auctioneering. Okay. That's diversion if I've ever heard it. He literally created an alternate explanation for his behavior. Anyway, next example. My ex and I went to visit his mother in the next state. While we were staying with her, my ex took her credit card and went and put gas in her car for her. Later on, my ex and I were having a conversation with a friend, and this kind of came up in context. I can't remember what the conversation was about, but it was in context. And my ex told this friend that he filled up his mother's gas tank, but the way that he was explaining it, he was implying that he paid for it out of the kindness of his heart. I called him out on it, and he was questioning why I was making a big deal out of it. And I said, because it's lying, that's why. So, of course, he was telling me that I was overreacting and trying to twist it. So the last story, it's a little bit complicated, but I'll try to make it brief. So there was a time, and this is directly related to the parental alienation. There was a time when I had my children every other weekend after the divorce, obviously. And so I had them every other weekend. On this particular weekend, I had them and I was moving. I was actually moving 3 hours away. And I was moving to go be closer to them. I needed to do some healing. Looking back on it, it was fascinating how the events played out, but I was able to do quite a bit of healing, not living close by to them. I was living closer to my family, my extended family. So I had them for the weekend, and my nieces wanted to spend time with them before I moved away because they knew they wouldn't see their cousins for a while. So I told them that they could spend the night, but on one condition. They had to help me pack the truck the next day because I needed to get everything packed to move. So they agreed to that. So the next day we were going through all of the belongings. We were packing up the truck, and I gave my niece a belt that I didn't want any longer. And a little bit later, my son came up to me. He was 10 at the time, and he came up to me and he was crying. He was very upset. I didn't know what happened. I had to piece together the events, but apparently my niece had been snapping this belt at my son. She was chasing him and she would snap him with it. And she did hit him with it. She snapped him with it. And so it hurt, and he was upset by it. So I questioned both of them. I got them calmed down. I asked my son no fewer than 5 times if he was okay. And he assured me he was okay. So later that night, we were going to an event, and I asked my son before we left, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yes, I'm okay." So I thought, okay, it's done. We're all getting along now. It's fine. The situation has been diffused. So that particular weekend, I had to pack up the truck on Saturday move 3 hours away on Sunday. Then I had to, on Monday, drive to a completely different state, another 3 or 4 hours, and go to court because I was trying to get more time with my children. So I went to court, lost the court case. I was told that there needed to be a substantial change in circumstances for me to see my children more, which is ridiculous. But I was bawling my eyes out. I went and visited my mom. She was on the way back. So I'm sitting with my mom visiting, and I get a call from my sister. My sister had CPS come to her house because my ex-husband had contacted CPS and made up this entire story surrounding this event that happened on Saturday with my son and my niece. He made up something about my niece had to go back home and was in trouble for doing this. And she was in so much trouble that she was then subsequently beaten by my sister and her stepfather. And I don't even know all of the details that he relayed to CPS, Child Protective Services, but it was ridiculous. It was completely fabricated. So, of course, they had to conduct an investigation, and nothing came out of it. Absolutely nothing, because there was nothing there. It was all false, other than what I just explained to you that happened. So I don't really know what he was trying to gain from this other than just to make me upset, confuse me. I don't really know. Alienate my family from me, but that didn't happen. My family was siding with me. So then how do we respond to gaslighting? Well, we need to let go of the idea that the person will someday understand you or your perspective. In one of the articles I came across in my research on this topic, which I put on my website and largely based this teaching on, the author explains most people want the gaslighter to understand them. The author makes it clear that a person that is consistently displaying this type of behavior has no interest in understanding anyone. So you just got to let that go. Secondly, less is more. The fewer words, the better. When interacting with a gaslighter, just use as few words as possible and stick to the facts. Proverbs 26, 4 through 5. Don't respond to the stupidity of a fool. You'll only look foolish yourself. Answer a fool in simple terms so he doesn't get a swelled head. Okay, actions speak louder than words here. Don't waste your breath trying to explain yourself. Stick with the facts and allow your actions to speak for you. Thirdly, allow the person to suffer the consequences. Proverbs 18:7. Most of the time when we allow a gaslighter to do what they're going to do anyway, they'll dig their own hole and reap the consequences. If this is a person we love, though it's very difficult to stand by and allow this to happen, we must. Think of the prodigal son. His father had to allow him to learn the hard way. So Proverbs 18:7 says, fools are undone by their big mouths. Their souls are crushed by their words. There it is, folks. If it's in the Bible, it's true. These people are literally hurting themselves with their own words. They are crushing their own souls. Next, have integrity. There is so much in the Bible about character. Having integrity is part of having character. Proverbs 11:3. The integrity of the honest keeps them on track. The deviousness of crooks brings them to ruin. A crook can simply be a dishonest person because if someone is lying to you or deceiving you, then they are doing it for their own benefit, which is not giving, it's taking. Stay true to who you are as the Holy Spirit leads you, however you interact with a gaslighter. Next, surround yourself with people who challenge you and build you up. Proverbs 12:15 and 13:20. Wise people take advice. Become wise by walking with the wise. Hang out with fools and watch your life fall to pieces. And then lastly, trust that we have a just God. Galatians 6:7. Don't be misled. No one makes a fool of God. Or the New Living Translation, you cannot mock the justice of God. Okay, so that was it. So how does this relate to child estrangement? So many families are being torn apart with divorce or lack of commitment to relationships. My family is one of those casualties, but I seek to stop the cycle. At the root of our broken families is broken relationships, and at the root of broken relationships is broken people. Gaslighting is a tactic used by broken people. Many of us have relationships or came out of relationships in which we were gaslighted consistently. If you haven't experienced gaslighting, consider yourself fortunate. But gaslighting is unfortunately a part of most dysfunctional and or abusive relationships. If we notice a trend of people breaking off relationship with us, at some point, we have to take a good look in the mirror and check ourselves with the Word of God. I want to know if I'm gaslighting people because I don't want to hurt people. So how do we stop the cycle? We stop the cycle by educating and equipping ourselves to be able to identify gaslighting when we do it or when we experience it. Once it's been identified, then we need to respond in the ways described. At times, if possible, it's ideal to disengage and walk away completely. If broken people become more unbroken and break these unhealthy cycles, then our relationships could be restored. We need to spread love rather than hate and discourse. That's the goal of my business, starting with mothers of estranged children. Raising Parents for Children is the movement within my company for mothers that are suffering from estranged children or parental alienation. If you join the Healing Grounds community, Healing Grounds is the name of my company. If you join the Healing Grounds community for $31 monthly, for the first 31 founding members, I will send a special gift. I will get your address privately and send it personally to you. So what do you get for your money with the community membership? You would get weekly group coaching. Right now, I have the weekly group coaching session scheduled for Monday at 11 o'clock Eastern. So those are taking place at that time. As the group grows, we can split off and have multiple sessions. We can also accommodate evening people who prefer evenings, because I know some people work during the day. You would have access to all my courses. You would receive early notice and access to new products. And you would be a member to an exclusive community of mothers growing together. So that's what you would get for your money. If you would prefer a more personal session with me, you can go to my website, healinggrounds.org, and sign up for a coaching session as well, or in addition to. So what is the gift? To the first 31 founding members of the Healing Grounds community, I will mail your own personal copy of the book Boundaries by Henry Cloud and John Townsend. Well, I won't mail it, but Amazon will. I'll just pay for it. I will put a link in the description below on this video to my website to join the Healing Grounds community so that it's easy to do that. And if you already have the book, well, this is your opportunity to give it away to someone who could use it to change a life. Healthy boundaries are so important in life, but particularly when dealing with difficult people. And it is the topic of my next webinar. So only the first 31 founding members get this gift. So make sure you get in, click the link, and you'll be directed to my website to sign up. Thank you for watching. And I'll leave you with this, Proverbs 10:7. We have happy memories of the godly, but the name of the wicked person rots away. Don't be a wicked person. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next webinar when we are discussing boundaries. Have a great day.